Point here to my neck, that's where I want to start getting the movement. So I'm pushing to the side and trying to bow the stretch high up on my cervical spine. I'm going to go through one side to side rotation here. So you'll see me go into the stretch and then go into the stretch on the other side. And I would do 6 of those, basically 3 per side. Trying to get as much segmented movement as possible, all isolated right there. The rest of your body should have some static tension in it. You want, when you're doing these, to get no movement in the rest of your body and just be moving at the specific joint that you're going after. So I don't have a ton of experience with this, doing it myself, and I also was filming them back to back to back to back, so I didn't want to get overly sweaty for the video, so I didn't create a massive amount of tension in my body. But you should be pretty stiff when you're doing this, as if somebody walked by and pressed you anywhere in your body, you would have a little bit of tension. You'll see me do lateral neck, so side to side, and then I'm going to move into full rotations. So ear goes to the side, chin goes down, and I'm going to go through slow controlled circles of the cervical spine. If you get any pinching pain when you're closing the angle, so closing the angle would be where my left ear is, where I'm on my back now, on my right ear now, and forward. If you get any closing pain, you need to stop doing this and get it checked out or chat with your coaches. All right, so here we're moving into shoulder. I'm going to take my arm up. It's completely straight. My arm's externally rotated. I'm going to go as far back as I possibly can get here. And then So now I'm in this position. I'm going to internally rotate my arm and try to keep my arm as close to my body as I possibly can keep it. So I have a straight line here from my hip up to my arm, or I'm trying to keep that as close as possible. And as I rotate around, I'm trying to get as much rotation as possible. And then when I finish, my palm should be facing out with full internal rotation. Then I'm going to move in the opposite direction, and I'm going to go back till I hit a sticking point. And then I'm going to basically reverse the range of motion and take it through external rotation, keeping it as close as possible, getting it all the way up to me. So that's a controlled articular rotation of the glenohumeral joint, and now I'll do it from a side view. It's same thing. So I go until I can get a sticking point, internally rotate, drive it as far back as I can get it, palms facing you, and then I go in reverse direction. Okay, now this is lateral. I'm going to flex my forearm. Then I'm going to rotate internally as much as I can get, and I don't want to let my scapula up here move forward and rotate forward. So I want to get all of the motion from this joint. Obviously, I could probably be a little bit more strict with my range of motion, but it's still going to give you an idea of what we're looking after. Then I'm going to externally rotate in full, extend my hand, and I'm going to actively pull as hard as I can with all the musculature on the back of my hand and the back of my forearm, pulling in as much as I can and externally rotating as hard as I can. Then I'm going to flex, and I'm going to rotate through in the opposite direction again. Okay, these are scap circles, so I'm going to protract, elevate, retract, depress, down. I want all the movement to be coming from my scapula. I want my hands to stay locked by my side the entire time. So you'll see it from the side view: protraction, elevation, retraction, depression. As much movement as you can get, and then I take it in reverse direction in the circle. So I'm retracted, elevated, protracting, and depressing. Scapula. Okay, now this is scapula in the horizontal plane, so I'm doing that same motion with my scapula, and my arms are just out in front of me. So big circles. Controlled articular rotations are basically big circles. So you see me just making big circles here with my scapula. Okay, now we're going to go overhead. This one is really difficult, requires a lot of range of motion. My upper body is a little bit stiff and pretty big, so you're not going to see a lot of movement here, but I'm trying to do the best that I can. Okay, so those are 3 planes for the scapula. Now here we're doing wrist, pretty straightforward. Now you want to get as big of a range. Trying to start here with my extension. So you see, I start to extend, and I'll try to keep this where I'm trying to extend. It's a difficult word for me to say. And now I'm going to rotate in the opposite direction. So now I'm at this point where I'm trying to get this into flexion as much as possible. Flexion, 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 and getting to my lower back. And now flexion here. So this is segmental cat camel. And now I'm going back in the opposite direction to get as much flexion as I possibly can get. Okay, your spine. So when you do this, you want to make sure that your hips stay completely stable and don't move at all. I didn't watch this video yet, so I don't know how tight I did it, but I'm going to flex forward, and we'll show this one from the side as well. I'm going to flex forward with my arms crossed over my chest. I'm going to get as much flexion as I possibly can get, and then I'm going to go to the side, get as much rotation, and then extend. You can see even in my eyes how much I'm focusing on trying to maintain just spinal movement. So I want segment by segment for this to be moving. So from the side, see, I get into flexion as much as I can. You want to make this arc as round as you possibly can create it of the spine. And then I'm going to rotate. I'm going to go into extension here as much as I can. So again, I want that arc as big as I can possibly create it. And then I'm rotating to the other side. And you see my hips didn't move and slide forward. They kind of stayed where they are. That's what you want. So that's the tension that you're trying to create in the full body. Cat camel. So here we're trying to get it segmented like a wave, vertebrae by vertebrae. So you don't want to be going just into a normal cat camel in one motion. I can't do this great, but I think you'll be able to see that I'm trying to keep it segmented. So I'm trying to start here with my extension. So you see I start to extend, and I'll try to keep this where I'm trying to extend vertebrae by vertebrae. It's a difficult word for me to say. And now I'm going to rotate in the opposite direction. So now I'm at this point where I'm trying to get this into flexion as much as possible. Flexion, 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 and getting to my lower back. And now flexion here. So this is segmental cat camel. And now I'm going back in the opposite direction. So I'm starting with my lower spine. Out here, I'm tracking it with the mouse so you can kind of see where I'm attempting to get my extension from. There you go. Okay, so this is hip. I'm pointing to this hip and saying that this ASIS makes this plate stay completely straight. So a lot of you guys will find, or gals will find, that maybe your hips are a little bit tighter from so much squat volume. And then some people will have much more range than this, but I need to make sure that that stays straight. You can do this without a balance post, but I'd advise in the beginning to use that just so you can focus on making the range as big as possible. So I drive my knee up as high as I can get it actively. It should be above 90 degrees. Then I rotate out to the side, and I want that angle to be as big as possible. You can see in my face that I'm really trying to work hard to flex the back of my right butt to pull my knee out, and I'm also really trying to maintain this hip forward. And then I'm internally rotating the leg, moving into extension, and bringing it back down. And then I'm going to reverse I didn't reverse the direction. When you're doing that, you are trying to make as big of a circle as you can. possibly can, imagining that your knee has a pen on it and is pointing forward and you're trying to draw an imaginary circle in the air. If that one is too aggressive for you standing up, this is a quadruped position. It's basically the same exact thing. Now you want to create tension in your body so most of the movement is coming from your hip. I probably didn't do that good of a job here of doing that, and you can get a little bit of bending from the lower spine as long as you're trying to keep some abdominal stiffness. So I drive my knee up, I extend it out to the side as high as I can get it, then I'm rotating internally. See, I'm drawing a big circle with my knee, and then putting it back down. Okay, so here is a bear position. I'm actively flexing in this bear position, getting my knees out as wide as I can to the floor, and then internally rotating the hip and getting the knee all the way down to the ground, trying to keep both butt cheeks on the ground. And back in this position, you see I'm flexing really hard, try to drive the knees down, and then pulling into internal rotation. Okay, here's patella, so that little bone that I just pushed.
No.
And bringing it back down. And then I'm going to reverse the, oh, I didn't reverse the direction. When you're doing that, you are trying to make as big of a circle as you possibly can, imagining that your knee has a pen on it and is pointing forward and you're trying to draw an imaginary circle in the air. If that one is too aggressive for you standing up, this is a quadruped position. It's basically the same exact thing. Now you want to create tension in your body so most of the movement is coming from your hip. I probably didn't do that good of a job here. And it's pointing forward and you're trying to draw an imaginary circle in the air. If that one is too aggressive for you standing up, this is a quadruped position. It's basically the same exact thing. Now you want to create tension in your body so most of the movement is coming from your hip. I probably didn't do that good of a job here of doing that, and you can get a little bit of bending from the lower spine as long as you're trying to keep some abdominal stiffness. So I drive my knee up, I extend it out to the side as high as I can get it, then I'm rotating internally. See, I'm drawing a big circle with my knee, and then putting it back down. Okay, so here is a bear position. I'm actively flexing in this bear position, getting my knees out as wide as I can to the floor, and then internally rotating the hip and getting the knee all the way down to the ground, trying to keep both butt cheeks on the ground. And back in this position, you see I'm flexing really hard, trying to drive the knees down, and then pulling into internal rotation. Okay, here's patella. So that little bone that I just pushed, it's embedded in your tendon. And I'm just going to draw big circles with it. So out to the side, I'm pushing it down, to the inside, and around. I got a lot of skin and probably too much hair for you to see, great. But you see I draw big circles this way, and then you go in the opposite direction on both knees. Here's Travis's, trying to get too deep. So you can kind of see what it looks like. See, he's drawing big circles with it. You might find that you have some sticking points and it doesn't move in one direction or something like that. If you have that problem, just continue to work it, continue to draw bigger circles over time. It should loosen up after trying it. Here are knee circles standing, so I'm going to drive my knees to the side, and I'm going to be very controlled in the motion, and then drive them back up, and then move in the opposite direction. The more mobile you get in this position, the deeper you can get into the squat, but I'd advise starting pretty vertical because these can be pretty difficult. All right, moving, here is ankle. See me making big circles with my ankle, my pretty blue socks. Those are sweet socks, by the way. They were on Shark Tank. Both directions. Here's knee. So this one, you need to make sure that your hip is completely straight and you're not getting any deviation or rotation at the hip. You want all of the rotation coming from the knee. So if you drew a line on my knee, you'd see when I rotate out that my tibia would rotate out this way. So we rotate it out and in, then up, out, down. You see that rotation of the knee is what I'm looking for. Big circles, big as possible. These circles in a well-trained movement athlete will be much bigger than mine. I'm probably adequate, probably better than most CrossFitters just because I spend more time moving and getting out of pain from sports than I do hard training anymore. But the movement quality can be much better from these. We just needed to get a video up and get to you, and I'm probably the best mover to be able to video these. So if you have more range of motion, you want to utilize as much range of motion as possible. And if you have less range of motion, that's okay. Just take your ranges as deep as you can get them under control. Okay? Think big foot here. All right, so you're gonna go, I'm okay at these, but I'm not great. So you see big toe gets elevated up. I'm just standing up here barefoot. So I elevate my big toe, then I'm going to drive my big toe down and elevate my little toes. And then I'm going to try to spread my feet as wide as I can get my toes. Oh, I think we missed that. One sec. So here, you see how I'm splaying my little toe out and I'm trying to drive as wide as I possibly can get and then reach them out and widen my foot. So you'll have big toe up while you're pushing down the little toes, big toe down as you're driving up with the little toes, and then spreading and splaying your toes. If you can't do this, this is something you should definitely work on. Your feet are your connection to the ground in everything that you do. Your foot strength will help with running, rebounding, double unders, whatever. It's something that you should definitely invest some time into, and it just generally, for most people, takes in just a little bit of practice. Okay, here's diaphragm. So some of this stuff is becoming popular, Wim Hof breathing, pranayama breathing, but basically what we're trying to do is take the diaphragm through full range of motion inhalation and full range of motion exhalation. So the first one, you'll see me take really, really big, deep breaths where I'm trying to make my belly as big as I possibly can and draw as much possible air into my lungs as I possibly can. And then I'm just going to reflexively breathe out. So big breaths and just relax and reflexively breathe out. And I'm not driving all the air out. I'm just taking big breaths in. Then you'll see me here. Now I'm going into full compression where I'm getting all of the air out, and I'm going to let the reflexive inhale take over after that. So I'm driving my belly button deep into my butt, basically. Flexing my abs, squeezing all of the air possible out, and then letting the automatic process of air refilling it. Then out, you see me squeezing really hard and tucking my belly button in, and then I'm going to move into both. So I'm going to take big, deep breaths out, and I'm going to take big, deep breaths in, and I'm going to do both of those. So you can play with how you do the breathing aspect of this. I'd probably advise taking 10 big inhalation breaths with reflexive out, do some breath holding, then do 10 big exhalation breath holding, and then do 10 big breaths, and that can be part of just normal diaphragm stuff that we're adding into the controlled articular rotations. So that's all the video that we have. That's the controlled articular rotations. This should take you about 20 to 25 minutes. If you want to just do one rotation, 2 rotations, that's okay as well. But I would advise doing this on a regular basis.